Hello and welcome once again to Jacob's Toys 5-minute figure reviews. Please do like, share, subscribe, all of those things. All support to the channel is very much appreciated. And in this video we're going to take a look at the Bone Breaker Wave by Marvel Legends, more specifically the Havok figure. So what do we get in the box? We get these two barrels that go on the Bone Breaker builder figure. We also are treated to these very awesome, very new effect pieces. These are like a hard, translucent plastic, and they obviously go around the wrists of the character. But that's not all. They've also included an extra third piece, which is a huge back piece as well. Now these are very specific to Havok because they represent his power. It's a shame that it can't go on the front, to be perfectly honest with you, but it does look very cool going on his back like this. Now they are big and they are quite thick, but they're not overly heavy, so it doesn't change the balance of the figure all that much. As far as the actual figure goes, we have had a costume similar to this in the Juggernaut wave. Well, actually it was quite a while ago now. When was that wave? I can't remember. But here we go. So here's the Juggernaut one on the right and the new one on the left. Now they are very similar in design. They've both got like the silver headpiece, both got the emblem on the chest as well. The older version from the Juggernaut wave does have silver gloves and some sort of silver detailing, whereas a newer one has a lot less detailing. Now the articulation on the new one is a little bit better. It's got those joints in the shoulders, like the butterfly joints in the shoulders. But apart from that, it is pretty standard articulation. So you've got all the normal places, as well as those butterfly joints in the shoulders. But you know, double elbows, double knees, ankle, rock and pivot, etc., etc. The actual face sculpt, the actual head sculpt is really nice. I love that they've gone for a much more classic look with this kind of bigger headpiece, and the emblem on his chest is much bigger as well. Havok's a really cool character, and we saw him in a couple of the X-Men films like First Class and Days of Future Past, etc. I think he was in Apocalypse as well. But yeah, he is the younger brother of Cyclops, but the older brother of Vulcan, and Vulcan's another character that we got in this wave. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I would have liked to have seen the Havok on that new Vulcan body mould. That would have been a nice touch. But hey ho, they've put him on this mould. Now, you just pop the hands off like that and put these effect pieces on like that, but they don't hold in place. They're quite loose. So I suppose you've got to kind of wedge them up the arm a little bit to hold them in place. But they do cut. There you go, that's come off already. So even though I've put a little bit of pressure and kind of wedged it on, it does come off, and where one side of it is a little bit heavier than the other, it kind of drops so that they both look like that, which isn't the end of the world, but for a new effect piece it's a little bit disappointing that they don't sit like sort of stiff, that you do have to kind of move them around a little bit. But Havok as a character is really well established in the comic books. He's been around since the 70s, I think it was, might have even been the late 60s. And he's kind of got a love-hate relationship with X-Men. He's not a big fan of Cyclops. He hates that his older brother's kind of, you know, the leader and all that kind of stuff. Havok most notably was part of X Factor. He kind of led X Factor along with his love interest, who was obviously Polaris, and we got a Polaris Havok X Factor box set not too long ago. But this is his much more kind of classic costume. I think the storyline in the comics that interests me the most, though, is where he temporarily kind of came on board as the leader of the Starjammers, and took on Vulcan's Shi'ar. And there's a whole comic book about the two brothers fighting, and Starjammers versus the Shi'ar, and Havok versus Vulcan, etc., etc. Now, this effect piece, because it is a standard peg, does fit on the old figure, so in a weird way it does kind of breathe a new lease of life into that old figure if you do have both of them. Now, apart from Havok, I don't know what other characters this particular effect piece would work on, so I think I'm going to kind of spread mine out and use one on the older version and the wrist ones on the newer version, or vice versa maybe. But if I had to pick one of the two, I think I would go for the new version, just because it's got a much nicer head sculpt and that little bit more articulation. So if you don't have a classic Havok in your collection, then this is definitely one that's worth picking up. Now, apart from the effect pieces, he doesn't come with any alternative hands or heads or anything like that. It would have been nice to maybe get a couple of alternate hands, maybe even just sort of some translucent blue ones to kind of overemphasize these effect pieces. But hey ho, this is pretty much what you see on screen is what you get in the box. But he is cool. He's, as I said, it's an updated classic Havok, and if you're a big X-Men fan or X-Factor fan, then he is definitely one that you need in your collection. Thanks very much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe and all of those things, and do check out my page for the rest of the Bonebreaker wave in the 5-minute figure review format. Thanks very much for watching.